Tucked away in the Vermont woods stands the Brattleboro Retreat Tower, built by patients of a once revered asylum. Over the years, there were fires, vanishings, and stories the hospital never wanted told. Some say the tower still echoes with what was left behind, and what's buried nearby might not be resting easy. I'm Kathy.
I'm Chris.
I'm Sean.
And this is Weirder After Dark.
So we finally made our way down to Stone's public house, gang, and a little different than I think we thought it was going to go.
The way the lady was talking about it that sent us the videos, I thought it was going to be like this hole-in-the-wall, like local dive bar. It was really upscale and really freaking busy.
It was fucking packed.
It was packed. There was a lot of people there and a lot of people waiting on the porch out front.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was surprised by that.
Next time, get reservations, apparently, because we waited for like an hour and a half for a table.
We did wait for an hour and a half, but I thought the cool part about waiting the hour and a half is like just listening to people who did have reservations or that were ahead of us, and like every single person was talking about ghosts. And Kathy, I think you went to the bathroom at one point, so just like Chris and I sitting outside, and all of a sudden this like huge like 6'6" Jack guy walks by, and I just overhear him go, "I'm kind of scared of the ghosts." And I look at Chris and go, "If he's scared, we can be scared, Chris." Like,
it's okay now.
Yeah. He's scared.
I feel more masculine.
But it was just so busy that 0% chance of us having any type of experiences, and we weren't able to have a tour, which sucked. So we didn't get to see the bloody dress, but we did get to eat some food, and the food was good, decent.
Yep.
But yeah, I feel like we got to go back, right?
Yeah, I think so, because like the waitress, she was willing to talk to us.
Oh yeah.
But she was just so busy.
She had like 8 tables going.
Yeah, she really just didn't have the time.
Yeah.
And so, we just asked her, and she just said, yeah, like, she had an experience. A couple other waitresses had an experience. We didn't really push her for more information because, they were really, really busy.
It was popping off.
Yeah, if we go on a Tuesday afternoon, I bet you we could get a lot more information and interview some people. But
Or like, call ahead, let them know that we're coming down. We're looking to do a tour. I think us just randomly winging it on a random day going down might not have been the best plan.
And I think it was like a Saturday too, wasn't it?
It was Saturday. Yeah. So gang, if you find yourself going to Stone Public House and you're not a local, if you got a little bit of a drive, like maybe try to plan it for a slower afternoon or something of that nature, call ahead. But I definitely want to get back there because like I still have lingering questions. A, I got to see that fucking dress. Like, is that bloody dress real? B, I want to get into that basement and I want to see what's inside of that hidden room and where does that hatch to the floor go? Is it tunnels? What is it?
Well,
so many questions.
I think the table that we were sitting at, I think that door that had all those locks on it.
Can I mention that door had 3 locks?
Yes.
Yeah.
That was inside the building. Why does a door inside the building have 3 separate locks?
You're definitely trying to keep something in.
I mean, that scared me a little bit. I got a little nervous about that part.
Yeah.
I want to know what's down there.
Yeah, me too. Well, we'll find our way back. Gang, if any of you have been into the basement or seen the bloody dress, get at us. Let us know whether that's on Reddit, Instagram, Facebook. Send us a direct message. And we just want to hear about your experiences because we're a little bummed that it didn't go the way we had it planned up. But that's okay because we got some new places to explore, new stories to hear. Is that right, Kathy?
We sure do. In this story, we are going back to 1834 in the Brattleboro Retreat. Though at the time, it was known as the Vermont Asylum for the Insane. It sits on over 1,000 acres of rolling hills and dense forest with a river winding through the property. Honestly, it's a gorgeous setting. I mean, imagine Vermont in the fall. You look out your window, you got bright, vibrant, colorful leaves, crisp mountain air, picturesque views out your window, while inside you might be getting around to shock therapy because it's an asylum during the 1800s. Peaceful on the outside, a little unsettling on the inside.
So is this the Brattleboro Retreat?
Yes, the Brattleboro Retreat is a facility today.
Yeah, because it's still open.
It's still
open.
open.
I've gotten clients from the Brattleboro Retreat. I've heard great things.
Well, I mean, they don't do shock therapy
Not
now. But when the facility was
Allegedly.
when the facility was first opened, it was the Vermont Asylum for the Insane.
They still do ETC treatments for people in deep depression that no other treatment has worked, and it's actually got some good results.
Wow.
Yeah.
Not as intense, but you know what I was recently reading about? They now like sell devices that you put around your neck and they give you electric shocks right around your neck.
Like dog collars?
Kinda. Not really though, but it stimulates your vagus nerve.
What is a vagus nerve?
It's supposed to be like when you meditate or you do breathing exercises, that's like humming or when you change your pace of breathing, that's what's supposedly like getting stimulated and that calms your nervous system down. So they have devices now that you put on your neck that they'll just sell to stimulate your
John, you know what else stimulates the vagus nerve?
What's that?
Breathing.
Breathing's hard. You know how easy shocking yourself is?
Can you give someone else the remote?
Yeah, probably. You could probably figure that out. But the smile on your face right now has got me concerned. Chris is going to wake up tomorrow with something on his neck.
All right. Well, the Vermont Asylum was founded thanks to a $10,000 that was left in a will by a woman named Anne Marsh. It officially opened its doors in 1836, and Anne, she did this because she witnessed a family member who suffered through some poor treatment while trying to recover. But because of that experience, it pushed her to imagine something better, something rooted in compassion. She envisioned a place shaped by Quaker values where people in need of mental health could receive what was called moral treatment.
I love that she's just like, we can do better.
I looked it up. What I found about Quaker religion was that it was all about community and sort of like helping each other. It was everybody contributed, which is sort of what they go and do. So she went ahead and she selected the board members and left the money in her will to make this dream of hers come true. This philosophy wasn't just hers alone, though. It was inspired by the work of William Tuke, a philanthropist in the late 1700s who saw mental illness not as a moral failing, but as a medical condition. And that shift in thinking was groundbreaking at the time. One of the more progressive ideas they embraced was having patients take on active roles in the day-to-day life of the facility. It was believed that tending to the needs of others helped promote healing in both the giver and the receiver. So patients were encouraged to share responsibilities and to support one another.
There's definitely some truth in that. I mean, having a sense of responsibility and purpose in life. At the same time, it's very close to free labor.
Yeah, we get there in just a second.
It's
a very fine line to walk, right?
You're paying to be here, and you're going to make all the beds.
Yes.
You know what I dream for? The days that $10,000 got you 1,000 rolling acres of beautiful land.
I mean, I think eventually it grew to 1,000 acres. I don't think it quite started off as 1,000 acres, but eventually...
Still jealous.
Still,
grand started a whole facility.
Yeah, beautiful land in Vermont. Yeah. So women, they made and they mended the clothing and the bedding. Other patients worked in the gardens. They grew food, repaired tools, and staffed the mechanical shops. In many ways, like you just said, Chris, the facility was run by the patients themselves, but it wasn't as a form of punishment. They actually looked at it as part of their therapy. But again, a very fine line that they had to walk. And the mindset was rare for that time. Most hospitals treated mental illness and addiction with isolation, punishment, often in conditions that were cold, cruel, and inhumane. So even though the retreat still used some controversial methods like the shock therapy, it was considered progressive. In fact, it became one of the most respected and sought after facilities in the country. So on the surface, everything looked promising. But the place wasn't without its shadows. Over time, the retreat ran into problems, both practical and somewhat stranger than you would expect. Now, I'm going to lean back on Chris's episode in the Brunswick Springs. If we remember, the hotel continuously caught fire.
Yeah, it burnt down 6 times.
Yeah, so sometimes we talked about how sometimes the universe tries to send you messages and it uses fire. The same thing happened here. Apparently, the Brattleboro Retreat got few of those messages and ignored them because over the span of just 39 years, the asylum experienced at least 6 fires that we know of.
Everybody's worried about job security these days. Become a firefighter in Vermont, you're good to go. You're good for an entire career.
Some of the fires were well documented and others were barely mentioned. But the first one, that one, to me, when I was reading about them, that one stood out. So I found the details of this fire in the book called The Vermont Asylum for the Insane, which I love and hate this book because it's super boring to read. It's boring. It's basically all of their annuals for the first 50 years that the facility was up and running.
Okay.
But it gives a lot of great little bits of information. And I found the details about this fire in this book.
Ooh.
So the fire, December 1862, it was reportedly started in the central building and spread into the west wing. The fire alarm was sounded immediately. The horse-drawn wagons rolled in fast to fight the flames. And meanwhile, staff they're working to evacuate the patients, herding them towards the local church. Now, keep in mind, these people were suffering from serious mental health issues, and the evacuation did not go as smoothly as the workers had hoped. Because as they're evacuating the patients from the burning building, you would think they would be running away from the fire. Some of the patients were actually running towards the fire.
Ooh.
Wow, yeah, I worked in a psychiatric hospital during a hurricane, and I remember I was working on the floor and we were watching the news because there was a hurricane coming, and one of the doctors who had much more experience than I did came out, turned on a movie and said, "It's going to be rainy and windy. Stop watching the news," because it was just getting more everybody more and more panicky.
Yeah, and everybody's getting riled up. So the reports originally say that only one patient was lost and a few others had wandered off, but were presumed as being recovered. That was actually the wording that they used.
Presumed?
Yes.
So they're not sure.
Hold on. Just hold on to that, because later in the report, it actually says, P.S., all about 5 patients returned. We heard from 2 of them, and the one that we thought was dead may not be actually dead. We're really not sure. So our best guess that there's 4 possibly missing, maybe dead, but honestly, we really can't say for sure.
What? And that's literally written in the report?
That's their official
pretty
report.
Much. I mean,
P.S. That's not how P.S.s are supposed to be used.
There is a P.S. and then pretty much, yes, it says that 5 returned. They don't know where 2 of them are.
Oh my God.
3 of them.
4 or 5, it's not bad.
Yeah.
All said and done.
P.S.s are supposed to be like, love you. P.S.
Thinking of
like,
you, wish you were here.
Yeah, not
Postscript.
like 4 to 5 people might be dead. Like, what the hell?
Or they might be just wandering the woods of Vermont somewhere.
Oh my God, that's insane. I just Googled the Brunswick spring fires. Those all happened in the 1860s too. So now I'm thinking, like, is there just like a pyro doing like insurance fraud and burning buildings down? Like LinkedIn? Like, ooh, I don't know. That's strange, right?
How far are the 2 from each other, Brunswick and...
Brunswick's near Lebanon, I think, right? Yeah.
So that's further up north.
Yeah, it's like mid-north of Vermont.
That's how he's got a long... He can cover that ground.
Yeah. Get me on horseback. I can cover a lot of ground.
So you know what else causes asylum fires, right, guys?
What's that?
Candles.
But not the candles from Ghost Poppy, Chris. Not those ones.
Kathy brought a candle as a prop today.
I actually found this company while doing research for this story, and the company is called Ghost Poppy. They have a whole line called Haunted House. Every candle is named after, obviously, a haunted location, and the scents that they use to create the candles is inspired by a particular location. So doing the research, I got the Brattleboro Retreat Tower candle, and I didn't know that they could do multi-layered scents inside candles. The top layer is a black walnut maple fir, which is burning, and I've been burning it ever since I got it.
Yeah,
it's
I can
amazing.
smell the maple. I want pancakes.
The middle layer is a nutmeg, cinnamon, ozone, and the base is a caramel, vanilla, laurel leaves. And I'm so excited to just burn this. I actually went in and bought more candles.
And I'm a big candle guy too. And as the resident vegan here of the show, I just want to say you can feel good about burning these. They're 100% soy, animal cruelty free. And part of that haunted line, I was kind of scoping it out. And I actually found a Fort Warren candle from our recent episode. So of course, I pulled the trigger on that. And when you're talking about multi-layered scents, Kathy, this one starts with Earl Grey tea, musk, and beeswax. Once you burn halfway through that, it turns into a bergamot and lime, and then ends on the last third as cucumber and amber. So I cannot wait to get my hands on these.
Yeah, and they have other lines. They don't just specifically focus on like haunted locations. The one that I bought for myself was out of their stone collection, and I got the turquoise, which is supposed to help calm and invite artistic flow and things like that. And when you get the candle, you actually end up getting a little gemstone from the
nice.
thing. So yeah, so it's kind of cool.
So if you like candles, gang, and you want to support a small company brought together by 2 individuals named Sean and Carla, find yourselves right over to ghostpoppy.com, throw in a quick little order of a candle. And if you do, just leave a little note there on your checkout that says Weirder After Dark, so they know that we brought you there. We're not getting promoted, no money in on this, but just something that we all like, we enjoy, and we thought you might too.
Yeah.
We thought that if we pushed it enough, maybe they would make a Weirder After Dark candle.
I would love a fucking Weirder After Dark candle.
I would love that.
It could smell like Sean's living room.
Or Boone Island.
Or Boone Island.
Sean's living room. What would that smell like, Chris? Can you go into detail?
Back to the story, because we're still in the middle of a couple of fires that happened.
Yes.
So we're gonna bring it back to the Brattleboro Retreat Tower.
But again, not Ghost Poppy fires.
But not Ghost Poppy fires. No, they are actually responsible, and they give proper instructions on how to burn your candle.
Love that.
Yeah. Back at the retreat, they saw even more fires. There was one in 1877 that started in the stables and spread to the carriage house, the straw barn, the wagon shed, and the brand new boiler house. That one didn't involve any patients, just a bunch of lost structures and supplies. Then there were 2 lightning strikes that caused fires, one in 1893 and one in 1897. And then after that, 2 more in 1900 and 1901. The causes,
a lot of fires.
Yeah, and the causes of the last 2, they're just like, yeah, we had some fires and we're just so used to it by now. I don't know.
Everything in the late 1800s, mid 1800s is just a fucking
It just
firebox,
burnt down
dude.
all the
Everywhere.
time, yeah.
Chicago fire, Boston
Salem,
fire,
Massachusetts burnt
Salem,
down in the 1800s.
Ah, it's insane.
So many fires. In the middle of all of the chaos that they have going on there, with all these fires happening. Someone at the hospital decided that it was a great idea and a great time to build a tower because nothing says healing environment like dragging up huge stones up a hillside. As part of the hospital's belief in shared purpose and therapeutic work, they had patients build this tower themselves. It was considered a community project, something to give them pride, structure, and a sense of accomplishment. But let's be clear. This is made of massive boulders, and the only way to get them to the site was to haul them up a winding switchback trail about a half a mile long to the top of the hill, which was nearly a mile away from the hospital. And honestly, this entire experience sounds miserable. Who thought it was a good idea to let's have our patients who are struggling with mental health build a 60-foot tall stone tower a mile and a half away from the main facility?
I mean, yeah, the idea is right. Sense of community, sense of pride. You're building something, you have purpose. But that sounds just like manual labor. That's not.
Yeah. So while the tower was intended to be a peaceful retreat, somewhere patients could go to reflect, find solitude, maybe reconnect with nature, didn't always serve that purpose. There are long-standing claims that some patients used the tower to take their own lives. Now, I went digging for some proof, and I really did. I tried to find something, and I couldn't find any official reports confirming that anyone actually leapt from the top of the tower. But let's not forget who we're dealing with. This is the same institution that gave us a fire report that ended with, maybe they're dead, maybe they're not. I don't know. So I don't know how much we really want to trust what they're saying.
I'm so glad you called that out because in my head, I'm like, bro, they don't even know where 4 to 5 people are. So
Exactly.
Yeah, come on.
So even if it did happen, I mean, do we really think the hospital would admit it? Probably not. A suicide from the very structure that was supposed to symbolize healing and hope. That kind of thing doesn't fit the narrative of community labor and moral treatment. It complicates the feel-good story that they're trying to tell. And institutions like this were big on image.
Report, 1891. Built a really cool tower. P.S. 5 people died.
Maybe.
Allegedly.
So this place just had a lot of strange things going on. There was 6 fires in 39 years. To me, that seems like a lot. Like, at what point do you start kind of chalking this up as like, this is just bad luck? I don't know. Or maybe there's just some weird energy that this place is pulling in. And I get the idea of creating a peaceful structure, something beautiful for patients to retreat to. But a tower, 60-foot tall stone tower up a switchback trail built by people in treatment, it seems crazy.
It's bold.
Right? Yeah.
It's a bold idea. Yeah.
You want to build a therapeutic garden?
Sure, yeah.
Right?
You know what? You're really depressed. You're having suicidal ideation. Why don't you go to the top of the tower and contemplate life for a while?
Yeah.
I mean, maybe if they put a bench by the river. I love that. Who doesn't like to just sit quietly and watch the river flow by? But yeah, to build a tower 60 feet tall seems a little
I liken
much.
Asia. They're like, let's build a sand pit with some rocks, get some rake the sand. And over here, like, we're building a fucking tower.
Yeah.
America goes up.
Yeah, we go up. We go up and we go big.
Yeah.
So now there's some other weird random shit that happened here. Like this one story. In 1913, a woman named Mrs. B.E. Letzinger is out for a walk, just casually strolling through the woods near the tower when she spots what she described as a tame deer. It's in Vermont. You're in the woods. I don't think that's so weird, right?
I want to go pet a deer.
Yeah, but it gets weird because she decides to follow it because that's what you do.
Now that's weird.
When you see a deer, you follow it.
I'm still
So she follows the deer, leads her up the path, and as she gets up to the top of the path towards the tower, just as she's about to get there, it vanishes, disappears. Naturally, she has no explanation. So what do you think she does? She goes back the next day. She walks the same path. Sure enough, there's the deer. Shows up in the exact same spot, leads her down along the path, and vanishes right before reaching the tower. I found a few sources that say the story actually ran in the local paper.
Why?
It's the 1800s, and there's nothing going on.
Follows deer into woods twice.
Well, that's the
That's
other
a headline.
thing. That's the other thing. I couldn't find who this woman was.
Yeah.
So I don't know if she lives in the town or if she was a patient there. Again, we know their record keeping's not so great. But the article that I found that is constantly referred to is actually just a newspaper clipping, which I have, and it will be on Instagram. It's just like kind of like an ad that references the area for like picturesque postcards and things like that. So it doesn't really talk about this woman seeing the deer, but every story that I hear says that it's in the news. But is she a patient? Because was there really a deer?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Our grandmother says she sees things inside
All
of
the time.
all the time. So, when you're old, you're a little blind, your hearing's going a little bit. Love you, Nana. What's happening?
Yeah, what's happening? Nobody knows. Nobody knows. But on a side note, though, right? So while I'm searching for this article, I also found another article that was for Help Wanted, and it read, "A reliable girl wanted to attend to the insane. No experience needed." That too will also be shown on Instagram.
Yeah.
Yep, that's how this is still the hiring practice.
Chris, is that how you hire people?
Yes, I do. You're willing to
No
work here? Holy shit.
No experience needed. Right? It just kind of ties all in.
I do want to say, and we're talking about stories from the 1800s. Over the last 20 years in this field, I've worked with clients, and I'm not going to benefit from this at all, that have gone to the Brattleboro Retreat, and they do a fantastic job. They've got a really good name, and this is not coming from their business development people. This is coming from clients I've worked with.
Yeah, it is. I do mention later on in the story that the facility is still up and running, and obviously the facility philosophy has changed.
Yes, okay.
Since the 1800s.
So
we're making jokes right now about it, but
So it's more now P.S. I love you, not P.S. 4 to 5
yes,
people.
yes,
Okay, good,
yes.
good.
It's more like P.S. We are actually here to help, and we want to help heal you and
Love it.
work with you. Yeah. Okay. So about 10 years after the deer incident in May of 1923, the Brattleboro Retreat made headlines again. This time, something much more serious. A man named Carl Dodge, the lead cellist for the New York Metropolitan Opera House, had been staying at the facility at Lawton Hall, seeking help for what was described at the time as a nervous breakdown. Carl had first been admitted in the beginning of May, brought in by his wife and their 2 children. After about 2 weeks of treatment, he briefly returned home to New York, but just days later, he was back at the retreat. On May 30th, Carl didn't show up for breakfast. Staff went to check on him, and that's when they found the note. It was addressed to his wife, and in it, Carl said he intended to end his life. His brother William traveled in from Boston, and when he arrived, Dr. Hollis Ripley met with him privately, and the news broke soon after. A description of Carl was shared with the police and search teams, and a full search of the grounds began. Tragically, on June 1st, Carl was found at the base of the tower, just 1.5 miles from the place where he was hoping would heal him. He was discovered laying flat on the ground, a gun by his side, and a single gunshot wound to the right temple. This is the only report that is provable of a suicide at the tower.
You went into a psych ward and he brought a gun with him?
He was there for 2 weeks. He went home. He was brought back because he was still showing signs of despair.
This was the 1800s?
The 1800s.
Okay.
Yeah, it was...
Yeah. I know now everything's searched. Anything that could be used to harm yourself or others is taken away.
I'm sorry. It was 1923.
1923?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. The rules have been updated since then.
So sad, though.
It really
so
is.
Super sad.
And here's this guy. He's a very talented cellist, and stress and pressure. He couldn't handle his own anxiety and stress, and ended up taking his own life, leaving a child and his wife alone.
If you're struggling out there,
Call 211 in the state of New Hampshire, and they will help you find help.
Yeah, I think that's good to know. And we'll put a link.
Why are you always doing sad ones?
I don't.
You always make me sad when you do your stories.
Well, it's okay. I'm going to transition into another story at the retreat. So even after Carl's death, the tower remained open. People could still hike up, explore, and hang out on the top like nothing had even happened. A group of boys, or maybe young men, depending on which version of the story you hear, they had been spotting running through the town in the nearby woods, shooting off guns like it was their own personal wild, wild west. Literally just shooting guns. Eventually, they made their way up to the top of the Brattleboro Retreat Tower, and from the high round perch, they started firing off shots, just being little shits, just shooting their guns just out into the woods. And they accidentally shot a dog in the leg. It was really sad.
There's no accident. You're on a tower and a dog got shot. There's no accident there.
Well, the dog belonged to one of the owners who lived at the retreat. And then once that happened, the retreat door got locked, and it has been locked ever since.
So the guy committing suicide wasn't a good reason to close it, but the owner's dog getting shot was?
Yeah.
All right.
Honestly, fuck people. Like, what the fuck, dude?
But I mean, I guess the guy who shot himself, like Carl, he shot himself. He didn't go to the top of the tower.
I think there's an argument
He was
to be
found
made.
outside the tower.
And I think there's an argument to be made. There would have been like, hey, the tower had nothing to do with that. If he was in that state and had that plan, he was going to do it. It was probably going to happen.
He did bring the gun
Yeah.
back to the retreat with him from New York.
Yeah.
So when he went back, he knew he was going to do that.
Where these fucking hooligans are just like, oh, I get up here, man. I can see so far and shoot animals. Fuck you for shooting animals.
Yeah. They're little shits.
Yeah, fuck them.
Yeah.
Fuck them.
Even after everything that happened, and even in recent years, people still claim that when they explore the trails and woods around the tower, they hear the cries of patients carried in on the wind. Some say they've seen figures of a man falling from the top of the tower. He plummets towards the ground, and just before he hits, he vanishes into thin air. No one knows who this man is, but maybe the cemetery that sits just steps away from the tower, maybe that holds a clue. As I searched for images and stories of the retreat cemetery, one thing stood out to me. It was the size. For a facility that had been around since the 1800s, the cemetery feels really small. Headstones are weathered and worn, some are toppled, some are still standing, but the number of visible graves doesn't seem to match the history, and that's why I tend to believe the following stories. It's also important to remember that back in the 1800s, if you went into a facility and something happened to you and they couldn't get your family members, maybe you didn't have anybody listed as an emergency contact, if they took that information, basically they would just bury you in their plot. It's reported that some of these grave sites have tombstones that are marked as unknown, and that there are multiple bodies buried in one plot.
Yeah, but this is a private hospital where people are paying top dollar to have their family members, which makes it even
it's
scarier.
private now, but at the end of this book here that I mentioned earlier, the annuals for the first 50 years, there's actually talk about how they were working with the state, working on state patients. And so it ends, and it doesn't give me a conclusion on whether it transitioned to state and then maybe back. But it did end up having to change the name because the Vermont State Hospital was created. And so at some point in history, that's when the name got changed from the Vermont Asylum for the Insane to the Brattleboro Retreat.
Okay, yeah, because the police will arrest somebody. They have no contacts, no real family. They don't do a lot of work to figure out where they belong. And they end up in a psych hospital and never get out. So, yeah, that would make a lot of sense with a state-run facility in the 1800s.
And even not being a state-run, in this book, they mention how in the first year, a patient was admitted. And at the end of this book, that same patient was still there. So he'd been there for 50 years. This is
later.
Their first 50 years. And so he went in and he just never left. With everything that happened on these grounds, from unexpected fires and tragic deaths to rumors of mass graves, is it really hard to believe that maybe a few spirits might still be lingering? Maybe they're looking for closure, or maybe they're just looking for someone to remember that they existed. There's really only one way to find out. The trail is open to the public, and you can still hike up to the tower. But like we talked about earlier, remember, Brattleboro Retreat is still an active mental health facility. There are still patients living on site and attending programs. So if you go, be respectful of the space, of the grounds, and the people who never got to leave.
Back in the 1960s, there was a big push to move people out of institutional living and back into the community. But yeah, before that, there was, if you went to a psych hospital, there's a good chance you're never leaving, that was going to be your life for the rest of your life.
Yeah. And
you were going to die there. So the small amount of graves, that concerns me.
Yeah, goes back to like that first fire. That's why that story really kind of jumped out at me, because they're obviously not doing very good record keeping back then. And I mean, who knows what they were really ended up doing with the remains.
I feel like it's really hard too, like it's way more rural. Like people probably just go out into the woods and you never see them again either, right?
Yeah.
Like imagine how much that happens. Someone breaks out, like how much effort are you putting in to go out and find them, right? Like,
and it's the 1800s. I mean, standards today are obviously way different than back then.
This would be a locked facility with security. And back then it was just, there's 1,000 miles of wilderness, so you're not going to leave, right?
And it was an ad in a newspaper saying, girl wanted to tend to the insane. No experience needed.
No experience needed.
So, I mean, that was the quality of care that they were getting.
Exactly, right? So, like, if you're that girl that gets hired and then all of a sudden, like, Chris gets lost in the woods and takes off, like, how much effort you care?
Yeah.
You're just like...
it's like, hey, I got a job.
Yeah. And am I saying anything?
Yeah.
Am I going to be the one that's going to go and then I end up losing my
trouble,
job?
sure.
If I need a job, probably not coming forward.
And in rural Vermont at that time, there's probably not a lot of jobs, right?
Yeah.
So, it's tough.
The hiring requirements haven't gotten too much better.
Dang. So, walking away from the story, Kathy, what's your gut say? Is this haunted? Do you think those stories are real?
I don't know if the story of the person falling and vanishing is real. I'm always skeptical of stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I definitely think that when you have that much activity, that many people, we all leave, I think, like traces of energy and some sort of footprint behind, especially when emotions and feelings are so heightened. I would have to say that I think there's probably something, whether it's shadows falling from the top of a tower or people wandering through the woods. I don't know, but I would imagine that if you went there, you're going to feel something, maybe a little off, I would think.
I really am sketched out moderately by the idea of like walking through the woods and just seeing a falling body from a tower. Like we had this in the Bridgewater Triangle episode too on Suicide Cliff, right?
Yeah.
Of people just seeing someone jump off a cliff and then you can't see anything.
Yep.
Like that, I feel like would traumatize me if I saw that and believed it was real. Like, oh, I don't know. That just like gives me the heebie-jeebies, freaks me out.
Yeah, I don't know what your beliefs are in the paranormal. I mean, you guys have talked about them, but if emotional energy gets left over, well, this is a very emotional place.
Yeah.
There's a lot of difficult feelings being dealt with.
I am partial to the theory myself that the afterlife, ghosts in general, are a lot of like energy trapped and just replaying itself. And I don't know if I can be sold on the idea that if ghosts are real, that they're like sentient and can think and are like interacting with us. I'm apt to believe that. And that tells me that if that ghost is real and people are seeing things jump off, that probably was a real moment and that energy stuck replaying itself.
Just the idea that families could drop somebody off at this hospital with the best of intentions, and 50 years later, they're still there.
Yeah.
Like there's no progress, there's no change, they're not getting
so
better.
Sad.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think too, like when I was reading through the Vermont Asylum for the Insane and I was going through kind of just skimming because it is a very dry read, they did talk about, you know, they would have X amount of patients leave, but they weren't like super high numbers for what I'm imagining how many patients they're receiving.
Yeah, well, our understanding of how to treat mental illness back then was very, very limited. So the best we could do was house them as comfortably as possible. And it sounds like that's the job that they took on.
Does sound like for the time, despite their record keeping, they had good intentions because they were all about trying to heal them and treat them with compassion and not, remember like the Kennedy episode.
Yeah.
Just the cruelty. She was a wealthy person. That was much later in the timeline of history. They did the best they could, I think, at the time. But yeah, it's still kind of, all my stories end up deep. I don't know what to tell you.
Another sad story by Kathy. Thank you, Kathy.
All right, well, Kath, thanks so much for sharing this story. And we forgot to mention off the rip, gang, this was another request of a story from one of our listeners. The gang. This actually came from Jeff. He sent us a message about our Dover Demon episode.
Okay, that guy,
Yeah.
I like that guy.
He was throwing out some rough ideas about like what could have brought the Dover Demon. He was telling us that like there are mineral mines around the area and that minerals potentially are known to help creatures or spiritual realms manifest, and was throwing some ideas out. In that email, he actually recommended us Brattleboro Tower. Jeff, just want to give you a quick shout out. Thank you so much for sending out the recommendation. We appreciate it. And,
keep the recommendations coming.
Yeah, and I hope he liked it. I hope I did the story justice for him.
I'm sure you did. It was a really cool episode. And with that, gang, if you haven't visited us yet, know that we are out there and we are building some communities. So go ahead and visit us on Reddit, where Kathy will be posting some images about her episode to go ahead and support that. We'll also be posting those images onto Reddit, one of our other communities we're building. And then lastly, you can also find us on Facebook. And again, all those three places at Weirder After Dark. So if you are looking to interact with us or other listeners that are enjoying these episodes just like you, be sure to go ahead and do that. Also, we are always on the lookout for your stories. So have you gone through some family records and found a PS 4 or 5 people went missing or we're not sure if they're dead? Have you gone through your family records and find out that, hey, our family grave might be a mass grave? We want to hear those stories. So if you have them, go ahead and send them to us, and you can send those stories or any other weird stories about New England to thegang@weirderafterdark.com. And lastly, if you are loving this shit, if you are absolutely fucking enjoying this shit, the best thing you can do to help us out is to leave a 5-star review and a comment wherever you're listening to this episode, or visit our friends over at ghostpoppy.com. And with that, remember, it always gets a little weirder after dark.
Bye.
Thank you, guys.